Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, or wherever you are in the world this evening. And welcome to the YouTube channel Expression of Consciousness. On today's video, I have Barry Carter, and he has been involved in spiritual development for around 30 odd years or more. And today I've got him with me to talk about his personal journey and how he got involved in spirituality. And he's going to talk from his perspective and viewpoint of awareness and understanding of mediumship and communicating with spirit through his personal experiences. Good evening, Barry.
Good evening, Spencer. Thank you for having me.
So, Barry, how did your spiritual journey begin, and how long ago was that?
Well, I come to the realization this year. I had an epiphany this year, and for many years I've been telling people it started in 1983.
Okay.
But earlier this year I had an epiphany and realized I was married in 82. Our first child was born in 83. And in 1984, my grandfather, maternal grandfather, passed away. And I hadn't lost anybody since I was the eye to a grasshopper. And when I realised that this year, 1984, some of the listeners might find that interesting in relation to George Orwell's book, 1984.
Yes.
However, in 1984, in June, he passed away. And I was 23 then. I hadn't lost anybody since I was near eye to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
And eventually my auntie, my mother's twin, said, I'll take you up to see Chris. I said, Chris who? She said, Chris at the pub, the landlady of my local pub. And I said, what can she do? And she said, well, she's a medium. And I said, what's that? She said, just trust me. Just trust me. And so on this Sunday night, we goes to my local pub.
As you do.
Yeah. And as the pub closed, the old closing times of 10:30 on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Once everybody had gone, left in the pub was me, my auntie, and my then wife. We sat in the bay window of the pub on a bench seat. Sitting opposite us was Chris, the landlady and medium, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of mediums over the years, and very, very few have ever reached her standard. There are a few, and you know, I will sort of drop some names as we go on, but however, Chris was in her 30s. She died, or passed away rather, only a few years after this in 1993, and before she reached the age of 40, I believe. But however, that night, sitting in that pub, I didn't know what was happening.
Yes.
Then, but what she done was brought my grandfather through and other people, and
Yes.
brought me what I now know, and it took me weeks to really rationalise and work out, was the most amazing evidence of the survival of the soul after the physical death.
So sorry, Barry, let me just interrupt you there for a moment. You said that the person made a connection to the spirit world. For those listening in, what form of mediumship did she use? Was she using clairvoyance or was it trance?
Clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance. Okay.
Just clairvoyance.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing evidence that in my naivety, you know, I questioned some things, and I asked some very silly questions because I couldn't understand how she had this information.
Yes.
At that point, because mediumship hadn't been explained to me. You know, obviously,
Yes.
I know now but evidence was of a standard that has very, very rarely, to me anyway, been equalled.
Yes.
The late Rita Taylor, psychic artist, she
Yes.
done it. Lorna Codlin, the finest female medium that I've seen other than Chris in Kent, many, many years, she done it. Roger Willicombe, the first medium I ever see in a spiritualist church, an amazingly gifted and humble man, he done it.
Yes.
Ray Williams, who founded the Christian Spiritualist Society, when I met him in '89, he done it, as did Sylvia Howarth.
Yes.
But very few, very, very few. Sylvia and both Ray, quite unexpectedly, at church services of the church I run then, in '89, 1 week after the other, both went into trance. The most amazing trance I have seen, and not equalled until I see Robin Hodgson in trance last year.
Yes.
Some amazing evidence Chris gave me. That set me off on the path. She told me to go to the spiritualist church. She was always there. I was always talking to her about this stuff. We started a circle sometime later in the pub.
Yes.
And whatever, not in the pub, but upstairs in the accommodation.
Yes.
And I owe her much. She, through her mediumship, set the standard and set me on the path.
Yes.
That has brought us to knowing each other, and that path continues.
Yeah.
As you will no doubt agree by your own path, the journey changes as
Absolutely.
awareness grows. I tell the story that initial meeting with Chris and what come from it was, for want of a better expression, a religious awakening.
Yes.
Awakening to what is called the religion of spiritualism.
Yes.
In 1989, 5 years down the road, by this time I was running my own church, and one Sunday night, I'm all suited and booted. It was a suitcase church. Emptying my car, bringing it all into the hall, and setting up the altar, this, that, and the other, because it was a Christian spiritualist church. And
Yes.
and I heard the door go behind me. Somebody had come in, and I turned round and I see this patriarchal figure come in with about 14, 16 people behind him. And I thought to myself in my head, what the going on here?
Yes.
That man turned out to be one of the most important, if not the most important people, and remains so on my journey, journey that he introduced me to the context of spirituality.
Yes.
And he done so by sharing with me his awareness of the Native American people, especially the Lakota traditions, and the way that they lived, and all this, that, and the other. That was itself a paradigm shifting moment, because I can remember sitting up his house with him one day. We got to be friends, and he'd eventually come down the church on his own. By the way, he come to my church looking for his wife, Wynne, who passed away earlier this year, who was an amazing trance medium by all accounts, that I've heard from many people.
Yes, yes.
But we become firm friends, and eventually, often he would come down the church on his own, and I would take him home, give him a lift home.
Yes.
He was about 69 then, and we sat and spoke, and I, at the time, was trying to convert him to Christian spiritualism, which was funny. It was funny. My intention was good, but
yes,
he'd been there, done that, you know, many, many years ago, and sort of moved on from it.
Yeah.
And like I say, he sees something in me, and he introduced me to the concept of spirituality. And two things he said were really paradigm shifting moments for me.
Yes.
First of all, he taught me how the Native American people traditionally were the first spiritualists, if you will, or were spiritists, you know, long before we ever heard of the Fox sisters.
Yes, of course.
They would commune with those that have gone on.
Yeah.
And the other thing he taught me is about when they went on a hunt. We in the Western world are brought up to say grace at the table before we eat food. They would do ceremony and ritual to pray for the life of, let's just say, the buffalo.
Yes.
Before they went on the hunt, beseeching the buffalo, praying to the buffalo, asking that he or she would give their life so the people would live, and they would honor the buffalo, his spirit and his soul, and they would, through their ceremonies, gift to the buffalo that he would give his life so the people could live. And I remember when he told me that, it was so profound, and I sat in the seat absolutely shaking with the energy associated with that.
Yes.
He opened me up to, as I say, spirituality, and because of that, I shut my church down, because I could no longer, in all integrity, with this new awareness, run the church in the way that it was formed.
Yes.
And so I went off on a personal journey. It involved getting involved in the Native American movement in this country, a very good powwow scene, and there's some very knowledgeable people in this country who in the early 70s, they're all old men now, those that are left, but in the early 70s they went across to Pine Ridge and were taken in by such people as the ceremonial chief of the Teton Sioux, Lakota, Frank Fallscrow, John Fire Lane, Eddie Loon, people like that. All names worth looking up if your listeners are interested.
Yes.
But they were, over the course of their stay there, which was, I think, about a month, if I remember rightly, these people, their intention was recognised, that they were pure of heart, this, that and the other, and they were taught in this space of time a lot of the sacred rites of the Lakota, all bar one, which is the catching a bull ceremony. But they were taught all the other rites of the Lakota. They went in sweat lodges and nippies. They went on vision quests, Homblesia, ceremonies, and they were told to come back. When they come back, Frank Fallscrow said to them, go back. Tongue-in-cheek, Frank was speaking. He said, go back, tell your people that John Wayne didn't kill us off. We're still here, and we're still fighting to survive. Share our ceremonies and our knowledge with your people, so they may too learn of us and how we used to live. And the Native American people, much like most hunter-gatherers, indigenous people, have so much to offer us.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why they were and continue to be eradicated off the face of the earth, because of their knowledge and awareness.
Because they refuse to be conditioned, so to speak. They're not using religions now, are they? They are now. They always have been. Sorry, that they just know that they are aware of the universal consciousness and the wisdom and awareness that's there, and they've been tuning into it forever.
Indeed. What we call God, they use the term Wakantonka. And
Yes.
initially what Wakantonka means is the great mystery.
Yes.
And indeed it is a great mystery until you start to learn about it. And it's sad that most people don't learn about their God, whoever their God is.
Yes.
And in my studies, where I've studied many gods that are celebrated, as it were, recognised over the earth, every god I've ever studied, it turns out to be no more than an extraterrestrial.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that has come through my conscious awakening.
Yes.
Bert Inglis, back in the day, 89 to 92, I only knew him for 3 years before he passed. He was talking about such things as the Men in Black and stuff like that then,
Yes.
which went way over my head. However, I took it in because I knew full well if this man was talking about it, then there must be something to it. Such was my respect for his knowledge, wisdom and awareness. And I've come to understand that, obviously, a lot more now, as you know, in our private conversations.
Yes.
And he continues to walk with me, guiding me and whatever, since his passing in 92. And I'm truly grateful for that, because his depth of knowledge and awareness obviously continues to grow as the same as everybody's does. Even though he's in the spirit world, it still grows because he had that foundational thought and awareness before he left here, especially.
Yeah, the intention to continue on progressively of the soul, with the soul, learning further, because I mean, with my own awareness now, I've learned so much more in the last 18 months since I've. So Graham, continue on what you were saying just a moment ago about we're on about expanding our awareness, because through what I was saying about myself, that the last 18 months, that there's so much more to the development than what I was developing many years ago, because I found it was just all very limited thinking in some way. It was almost like some people that was teaching about spirituality and awakening us spiritually didn't fully understand spirit and the universal consciousness themselves and how aware it is.
Me and you share similar paths. That's why we hit it off with each other, because we both come into spiritualism, and I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that we both at one point thought spiritualism was the be all and end all. It would provide us with all the answers that we would ever need throughout life.
Yeah, I thought that for 18 years, because that's all I was taught.
Yeah, I did for a long time. However, when I met Bert, I had a spiritual awakening. And as I said, I then had to, by an act of integrity, I had to shut my church down because it was at conflicts with this new awareness.
Yeah.
Sir William Crookes, one of the greatest personalities in spiritualism, as we know it today, modern day spiritualism.
Yes.
Said, spiritualism is not a religion, it is a discovery.
Yes.
Religion comes from the Latin relegare, and it means to tie, to bond, to thought, to stop forward progress.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if it's spiritualism, Catholicism or what any other religion you can think of.
Any ism or is.
Yeah, it is there to stop you expanding and coming to know yourself.
Yes.
This awareness has only come to me through my conscious awakening, which has happened over the last 10, 12 years, maybe a bit more. And a conscious awakening, for me, if a spiritual awakening was a paradigm shifting experience, then a conscious awakening was, if you'll pardon the pun, a universally paradigm shifting experience.
Yes.
Because only with conscious awakening can one who is becoming consciously awake actually come to an awareness of truth. So you see, religion is following a preset dogma somebody else has set up. Spirituality is following one's own preset dogma, and both of them are very limiting. When one becomes consciously aware, one invariably comes to the point of knowing that these two concepts, religion and spirituality, are indeed that, concepts, because the soul, which is an aspect of all that is and all that will ever be.
Correct.
Some people only know it as God. When you truly understand what the soul is, it's an aspect, a microcosm of the macrocosm that is the whole. And all that is, the universe is expressing itself as consciousness from a base of love.
Yes.
The universe was born out of love.
Yes.
And it expresses itself as consciousness, whether that be me, you, a rock, a tree, a chicken, a cow, a fish, water, air, whatever. Everything in the universe is energy, sound and or light.
Correct.
And we are merely microcosms of that macrocosm that is the whole. Coming to an awareness of this is a never-ending journey. It's a fulfilling journey. However, when we have to shed our old selves, as both me and you have done, and unlearn all that we've learnt in order to learn again, it can be quite emotionally disturbing. It can be disturbing on many levels. However, it is what it's called the awakening.
Yeah. And
when one wakes up, symbolically speaking, one has to look and question the dream that was, has been our life.
Yes. Yeah. When we have that spiritual awakening, mine was September last year, and
that was your conscious awakening, Spencer.
Sorry, yeah, my conscious awakening. Yes, it was like you said earlier about having an epiphany moment, and everything fell into place, and you come to a state of realization, and from that realization, more clarity was formed from that, and from that conscious awakening, within a week I had an ET experience.
Yeah.
And that was when I met my Orion starseed, Acme. And that was just a very unusual experience, because I've always felt and believed there's more to this universe than just our existence. Because if something's been existing for billions of years, to think we are the only living thing in it is very limited and primitive thinking.
And it also, I see a post the other day. If humans are the only life in the universe, seems to me to be an awful waste of space.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And from that moment when I had that extraterrestrial moment, it confirmed truth to me that we are not the only species in this existence of life.
No.
And then I obviously started to look, and I was like, there's only so many species of alien. And now it's come to the point where it's like, well, I can't even put a number on it. That you can't put a number on it because I don't know.
No, and again, we share a similar experience, because in 2014, when I set out to develop physical mediumship, a lifelong dream of mine, I set out with the intention of trying to develop independent direct voice like Leslie Flint did. It is something that has always fascinated me. For those that don't know, when independent direct voice is fully developed, the medium could be sitting there having a conversation with you, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, another voice appears.
Yes.
And so there's now three in the conversation, and I wanted to develop that.
Yes.
However, it didn't turn out that way. Bert was a very influential figure to me, and I have a friend who I filled Bert's shoes for him. When we first come into contact, an old neighbour of mine, she asked me to have a word with her grandson one day. I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, you're into all that spiritual stuff, and he's going through stuff, and nobody can help him." I said, "Well, I'll do what I can."
Yeah.
He became, and it still is, a very good friend of mine. His name's Darren. And in 2014, that was over 10, 12 years ago, if not longer. But in 2014, when I set out with the intention of developing my physical mediumship, there was only one person I wanted to start with, and it was with Darren. And so I asked him. He said, "What do I have to do?" I said, "Come down and I'll tell you." So we had we spent some time, and I told him what his responsibilities was in relation to me and, my safety and all this, that, and the other. And we started off very basic.
Yeah.
We started this, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday night in the beginning. It certainly did end up on a Wednesday, but we started, and all I'd done was shut the curtains at that point. Had a red bulb in a lamp. I was already a transfiguration medium. I've had that gift for quite a number of years.
Yes.
And I said to him this first night, I said, all I'm going to do, Des, is open in prayer. I used to pray then. I no longer pray. Praying is just subjugating oneself and giving away one's power to another. I talk as an equal to the universe. And that's what I do now. I don't pray anymore, but I did then.
Yes.
And I said to him, I'm just going to open the circle up in prayer. We'll close it in prayer.
Yes.
And we'll be guided by spirit.
Yes.
Well, that night, he see his grandfather transfigure me. He'd never seen anything like that before. See a few other people transfiguring me. For those that don't know about Physical Circle, I told him that he must talk about what he's seeing, hearing, or feeling physically as it happens, and that helps build the power up. Well, something happened to me. I was shown something very clearly.
Yes. Which
led me to, when the circle had finished, before he went, phone a friend up because I see her. And the upshot of it was, she was to join the circle, and indeed she come up the following week. And I said the same to her as I'd said to Darren the previous week. And she has clairvoyant abilities, and I said to her, no clairvoyance, it's just what you see, hear, and feel with your physical senses, and vocalize them as you're seeing them.
Yeah.
And halfway through, I don't go into trance. I have been into trance once in 2002, funny enough, completely and utterly taken over in trance, where my friend Bert fully took me over. And when I come back, his daughter's sitting there holding my hands, sobbing still. She'd had the first conversation with her father, seen him, spoke to him for the first time since his passing 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
It only happened once. It's only ever happened to me once. I do go into light stages of trance, but I'm generally fully aware. And so the second week, Wendy's sitting there and she said to me, Barry, I know you said no clairvoyance, but I've got 2 Native Americans here, quite high rate, saying, where's the smudging, where's the music? So, you know, I said we were guided by spirit. And so the following week, Darren had downloaded some songs I'd asked him to, Native American sacred songs, and smudged, and it went on from there. And we ended up with 5 sitters, and we ended up with, or what started, the main thing that started, we was getting all these great historical Native American figures come into the circle in the etheric. Now, on the one hand, this done my head in, because, you know, they're famous figures. However, I could not deny the fact that the sitters had all seen them, and oftentimes afterwards we had to get pictures of them up on the internet, because I knew who they were, but they didn't, in order for them to identify them. So that was good evidence anyway.
Yes.
But then from there, then we started getting ETs. By this time, we moved on. The room was completely blacked out. I was sitting in a cabinet, and we was getting ETs and aliens, and light beings, and this, that, and the other.
Yes.
I completely and utterly done my head in. You know, I'm trying to. Everything felt right. You know, none of my sitters or me was ever scared at any point in time. However, it didn't sit with me coming from a spiritualist background. It done me head in.
Yes, of course.
And that brought me back into spiritualism in 2016.
Right.
Where I had such amazing evidence from people. I haven't been in the spiritualist church in about 30 years. I had amazing evidence from people that had no idea who I was, in various churches around Kent, Sussex and Norfolk.
Yes.
No idea who I was, and giving me the most outstanding evidence. Often they had no idea what they were talking about.
Yes.
And that's not being blasé in any way, shape or form. It's just that they wasn't on that level of awareness. However, for them to give me a message like that, which I could fully accept, was amazing. And it also gives testament to their link with that which is outside the third dimension.
Yes, yes.
You know,
when they made the link with you, and they may not have been on the same level of awareness and understanding as you, but because they were connecting with your awareness, that allowed them to expand theirs. That's correct, right?
Well, you could put it like that, but I prefer to look at it this way. It all starts with the self.
Yes.
And what they were doing was something which was outside of their paradigm, their awareness. However, it not only did it serve to cement things for me, but it should have then got them questioning. Me and you had a conversation the other day when you said, I get stuff sometimes, and I think, where did that come from? Right?
Yes.
We both do. Those mediums that were, for want of a better expression, speaking to me on a level outside their perceived paradigm at the time, what that should have done was exactly the same for them. Where did I get that from? And this, whether it did or not, I don't know. But that's what it should have done. right? We're all capable of that.
Absolutely.
A lot of my messages have come from beyond the spirit world,
Yes.
from the platform, beyond the spirit world. I come back into spiritualism in August 2016, went to various churches, centres, this, that, and the other. One of my friends on my page, Linda Ray, I was up in Norfolk once. And I went to this church at East Dereham. Absolutely beautiful little spiritist church. Thoroughly recommend anybody paying it a visit. I went there. This medium didn't know me from Adam. I'm 150 odd miles from home.
Yes.
And such was the standard of her evidence. I put my hand up. She said, "What?" I said, "I've got to stop you." I said, "That evidence is off the bloody wall." I said, "I've had to travel 150 miles to hear stuff like this."
Can you give us some examples of the evidence, what you would call good evidence, Barry, for mediumship? Because I know your viewpoint of evidence would most likely be very similar to mine, and that's why I've pulled away from churches. But I know you're saying you have seen mediums with great evidence, and that's a good thing, because there are plenty of good mediums out there. But can you give us some examples for the listeners about some of the evidence that you got without giving too much personal information away?
Well, I'll tell you, there's many that stick out, but I'll tell you this one.
Go on.
I'll come back into spiritualism in August 2016, and I'd made a habit of going to Hive Church. I used to go and pick the tea lady up. She was getting on for 80. She only lived 5 or 10 minutes walk away from the church. However, she was 80 years of age. Nobody else went and picked her up. You know, that's spiritualist for you. But I see that there was a need, and I offered, and she gladly accepted. And I would pick her up. We'd take her to, we'd go to the church, and we'd invariably be there first. She was a key holder. We'd set up this, that, and the other. And one Friday night in October 2016, we'd done this, and we're sitting there, and then the president come in, and everything's ready. You know, it's still early, but the president come in, and I said to the president, "Don't get me wrong, Avril." I said, "I don't know why I'm still here." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I only come back into spiritualism for qualification of my mediumship." I said, "And I've had it in leaps and bounds. You know I have." She said, "Well, yeah, you have." She said, "But you don't have to go." I said, "Well, I'm just saying." That night, a medium was serving there for the first time. Nobody knew her there. Certainly the president didn't know her. She'd come on recommendation. And her name was Barbara Almond. And she stood on the platform, and I'm watching her. I always watch the mediums.
Yes.
You can watch, you know, if they really are working with spirit, and to what degree, you know,
Yes.
when you've got an awareness. So I'm watching her, and she had tremendous energies with her. I knew she was working on a pure link with spirit, and what have you, and it was a joy to watch her. And she's going to people, "Can I come to you, love? Can I come to you?" This, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden she said, "I don't know where I am here." She said, "I've got the name Gertie or Gertrude." I said, "That's my mum, but she's still here." And she said, "No, it's just a link connection."
Yeah.
She, like many others, then went on to talk about my mediumship, including paying attention to the ET and alien elements of my mediumship.
Yes.
And then she said something nobody else had ever said. During the development of my mediumship, one night in particular, there was 2 or 3 occasions, but the first time, one night, they all, while I was in the cabinet, they'll see Jesus washing my feet.
Yes.
I can only speak truth. I know this may sound far-fetched to some, but hey ho, this is what happened. Anyway, my sitters, you can imagine the emotional state they're in, awe, wonder, humility, excitement, this, that, and the other. It was palpable. You know, they're all talking and over each other about this. They all see him doing this.
Yes.
One of my sitters said, if Barry thinks I'm watching his feet, he's got another thing coming. And I said to him, you haven't learned a bloody thing from me in 8 or 10 years, have you? He said, what? I said, you've been coming to me, seeking my knowledge, awareness, and what have you, and you haven't learned a thing, have you? What do you mean? I said, what was he doing? He said, washing your feet. I said, yeah. Well, I ain't washing your feet. I said, there's a message there.
Yeah.
It's a message. For a start, he washed people's feet, his disciples' feet, to show his humility.
Yes.
What he's actually doing is using water, which also represents consciousness as well as cleansing.
Yes.
Water to wash my feet, my soul. Now think about how you spell that. Well, anyway, this night in the church, evening of clairvoyance it was, and Barbara said, the room was packed. I sat at the back. She was right at the front. And all through this message, people were listening to her and then turning their necks to hear my response, right? Because she was coming out with some very, very good mediumship.
Yeah.
And she said, you've got somebody working with you with white robes and gold around it. You know it is, don't you? And I said, yeah, I do. I said, but then again, so do you. And with that, she went, her legs went, her body went, and she had to grab hold of the table. And she said, oh my God, I am so humbled to give a message like this. And I said, I know the feeling. And that's all that was said. All that was said. She never gave away the identity of this communicator.
Yes.
However, that communicator had stepped into her energy, or she'd stepped into his, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah.
And she'd felt it. Anyway, when we were downstairs afterwards having a cup of tea, I said to her, never seen a woman before at that point. I said to her, I've got to ask. I don't have to, but I've got to ask. Who was it? And she said, well, it's a man, wasn't it? Jesus Christ. So I told her the story about how he would sing with me in the cabinet. And I said to her, I have to say a couple of things to you. She said, what? I said, for a start, if you'll pardon the expression, to stand on a public platform and give a message like that takes some balls.
Yes.
I said, you've got to be pretty sure of yourself. I said, I already knew you were. I said, because I've been watching you all evening and you'd already got my respect.
Yes.
So, but the other thing is, you can only give a message like that if you can raise your vibratory rate to meet that energy coming in as a sort of equal. I said, and that's exactly what you've done when you lost yourself. She said, I totally agree. See, nothing is beyond us. Spiritualism, the way it is still gone about, when I come back into spiritualism in 2016, the one overriding thing I've learned is that nothing has changed.
Yes.
It's still the same old thing week in, week out.
Yeah.
Very, very few mediums can stand on the platform and do what Barbara did. Gene Williams can do it. I see a man called Francis Stadden, I think it is. He can do it. I've got a medium at the centre next month, Simone. What an amazing gift she has and how she does it, and whatever. I've seen a few. I've had some great evidence and whatever, but very rare have I seen philosophy in spiritualism. Used to get a lot of it back in the day when I first started. Lorna Codlin, nobody gave an address like Lorna Codlin, an inspired address from very highly evolved beings back in the 80s. Nobody gave an address like Lorna Codlin. Some were close, but nobody's close to that level of philosophy as I see it this year, or this my life, because certainly in my experience, nobody does that sort of thing. All they're interested in is learning how to communicate with spirit. For many of them, it's just a means to have a financial income.
Yes.
Very few people I've found have any idea of the history of modern day spiritualism. You know, the early pioneers and the important people in its history, like Crookes, Lodge and Doyle and Finlay, people like that, never mind the mediums.
Yes.
You know, and it's sad. It really is sad. And that's
I'm glad you've mentioned about philosophy in churches. I mean, I've only just left the churches within 2 years, and over the last 20 years of my experience, when I first started 20 years ago, there was plenty of philosophy going about where it empowered the congregation, it inspired the congregation, and it made the congregation hungry for more information, for more knowledge, and wisdom. Today, over the last few years, I've noticed philosophy now, not everybody, but philosophy now come from some mediums. It's just talking on a personal level.
That's all they do.
It's not bringing the awareness of spirit or consciousness itself, where they allow their guides to come close enough into their energy, into their awareness, and just blend and let spirit do it, or the universe do it.
Well, no, that's where, you know, I will debate with you, Spencer, and you'll understand why.
Yeah.
Because over the course of my conscious awakening, what I have been drip fed from the universe, little bits at a time, has culminated in the full and unequivocal awareness that the spirit world is merely a construct to keep the soul in the reincarnation cycle.
Yeah.
You know, I can explain this fully. I won't do it now, but there was a time when you didn't need a carbon-based body to incarnate on this planet. You incarnated from a soul as a light body or as an etheric body, and with no need for a carbon-based body. However, when one studies, as me and you have done, the history of this world and everything, how it works, this, that, and the other, one comes to the knowing and the awareness of the fall of man, as it were, which is why carbon-based bodies exist in the way that they do. And it's all interlinked with the Archons, and the Archons control not only this planet, not only the spirit world, but a great part of the universe beyond that.
Yes.
And they do so for one reason and one reason only, and that's to harvest energy.
Energy. Yes.
And the reason we have a spirit, which is, when life is formed in, when a man and a woman have a copulation and that sperm hits that egg and life is formed, the soul comes into the body, and then from the soul, the spirit of this incarnation is born.
Yes.
Everything is about the soul's ascension and progression. And the Archons knew this. And if they could keep the soul, all souls, in a reincarnation cycle, they found a way to do it by this construct of spirit. When you go beyond spirit, like me and you have, I know it's not easy for everybody else to understand who hasn't done this, but when you are taken, as it were, your awareness, your paradigm, when you freed your mind to go beyond spirit and the universe opens up to you, you can then be like Tesla and Casey and be a receiver for all that was, is, and ever will be. If you're
Yes.
working within the confines of the spirit world, the Archons and their agents on this planet only let you do that because it feeds their need for your energy.
Yeah.
You know, people like me and you will be attacked, and other mutual friends and loads more across the globe will be attacked and vilified for what we do, because those that vilify us do not have the awareness and the knowing that we have. It is available to all.
Cool.
However, I have come from 1984 thinking spiritualism and the spirit world offered me all the answers I ever needed for life, or the ability to get those answers. Spiritualism still remains the foundation, that is the rock of truth on which my whole journey is built. However, I see the spirit world for what it is now. It's the nearest vibrating reality to this third dimension.
Yes.
And it is as much a prison of the mind as this earth is.
Yes. Yes.
All it's about is to harvest energy, you know, and the more lives you can get out of the one soul by reincarnating it, the more energy you can get out of that. In each incarnation, the emotional and spiritual and physical output of that person on whatever level, you replicate that by 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, 1,000, how many incarnations that soul has.
Yes.
And that is what the Archons and their agents on this planet are harvesting from us, whether it be physical, through our work, etc., our fear, our emotions, our ignorance, whatever. That is the way this world works. So many people, especially in spiritualism, don't know this because they don't fully understand what spirit is. And certainly don't fully understand what a spirit guide is.
Yes.
There is
now, as you're going to mention about spirit guides, this is a new understanding for me. So yeah, the understanding about our spirit guides. Go on, Barry. Please explain about this, because it's an interesting topic, and I know this to be true because I've had confirmation of this from my own spirit team.
Well, I wouldn't have said this a few years back, Spence. You know,
nor would I.
But because of my conscious awakening, and conscious awakening is all based on truth and universal law.
Yes.
That is the two main precepts of a conscious awakening: truth and universal law.
Absolutely.
What I've come to be aware of and to have a knowing of, as Jesus said, knowing the truth will set you free.
Yes.
It's not enough to know, you have to have a knowing. I've come to be of the knowing that our spirit guides are no more than lives our soul has led before.
Correct, yes.
And so you've got the same mindset following you about, so to speak.
Yes.
Because you're reincarnated now. The majority of people on this planet are reincarnated now through the reincarnation cycle. Yes. There are those that have come from outside of that willingly to help lift mankind up.
Yes.
However, as a generalization, all your spirit guides are no more than lives your soul has led before. And if you're going to listen to anybody, any being, then listen to the spirit helpers, because on the face of it, they're outside of your own soul's journey, although everything is linked.
Yeah.
But they have a deep interest in your soul reaching a high state of awareness for the good of the whole.
Yes.
Listen to the spirit helpers more than your guides, because your guides, with all due respect, are probably as ignorant as what we are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're only in the next vibratory reality.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and
Helpers and those from outside of the spirit.
yes,
You know, I make this point. Those from outside of the spirit, the light beings,
yes,
the carbon-based extraterrestrials and aliens.
yes,
Let me just make this clear for the listeners. An extraterrestrial, to my point of awareness and my knowing, is some being that lives or comes from off this planet, somewhere else in the universe, that is humanoid in form, may have, you know, 2 arms, 2 legs, thorax, etc.,
yes,
abdomen, all that, head. Humanoid in form, may have a
yes,
different shaped head, different shaped body, more digits on the fingers, less digits, fingers, toes, etc. However, humanoid in form. An
yes,
alien is something that is not humanoid in form.
yes,
That be insectoid, reptoid, whatever.
yeah,
And then you have beings of light that again are not spirit. They have evolved way past that, and they come
yes,
down to help us to lift up to their point of awareness and knowing. You have light beings, you have beings of soul beings that come and do the same, and you have beings of pure consciousness.
yes,
People or beings like Christ or Sananda
yeah,
are such. Buddha, Krishna, whatever.
yes,
They are very much of the same ilk.
yes,
However, my experience tells me that there is that which is beyond them. For many years, I thought Jesus was the be all and end all, till
yeah,
I had a personal experience with him, and he was talking, and he said, "I have to stop now and give way to the master."
yes,
That blew my mind.
yes,
Jesus say, "I have to give way to the master." There is, what he's saying is there's somebody higher than him, as it were. For one, I don't obviously use that term, but you see what
Iron, for the context of the conversation, yes,
yeah.
yes,
And it, you know, for me, it's really interesting to have this conversation with you because we share so many similarities on our journey.
yes,
You have got to the point, and I bow to you in humble gratitude, where you have written it down in a book, and I wish you every success with that.
thank
But
you,
you know, somebody said to me once, and this was a medium, not only a medium, but a minister, and all this, that, and the other.
yeah,
She said to me, "You think you know it all, don't you?" I said, "No, I don't, but I think all can be known," and that shut her up. That's how I
yes,
live my life, learning every day, knowing there is always more to learn, for it is only through learning and developing our awareness can we truly allow the soul within to ascend. What other reason is there for incarnating anywhere, much less on planet Earth?
yes, absolutely. I mean, because like you said, we can go beyond the spirit world through expanding our awareness and learning more and understanding that the system we are in is manipulated, clever system,
Without shadow of a
because
doubt.
it's a system within a system in a system,
Yeah.
you know. And when we go beyond that, that's when we really realize what we are, I feel.
Well,
Because the problem is that, and this is no disrespect to anybody developing as a medium, because we've all done it. I've done it. When we develop in mediumship, we see what we're communicating with as spirit world at the beginning, that they're separate to us, that we have to find time to go, right, we'll tune in with them then, or that now, etc. But really, when you become awakened consciously, you realize you are constantly connected to that energy, because if you were separated from it, you wouldn't be existing.
Well, that's exactly right. And what most people, or what I found since 2016, especially within spiritualism, don't get me wrong, there is an awful lot of good intention within spiritualism. I'll talk about spiritualism because it is important to me. It's where I started. There's an awful lot of good intention in spiritualism, but there's an awful lot of ignorance as well.
Yes.
You know, me and you can have this conversation, and we could have it with a few others. I'm sure you've got friends that you could have it with, but there's very few in spiritualism you could have this conversation with.
Yeah.
One church president, when they told me they had cancer, you know, I told them what they could do for themselves. And they said, oh, somebody else said that. I said, well, are you doing it? And they said, well, no, I'm going to the doctors in the hospital and having, you know, all the treatment. And I said to them, and you're running a spiritist church. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, you're not really walking your talk, are you? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, it all starts with the self. I said, I can understand you denying me. I said, but when you tell me somebody else has given you the exact same information before me, and you're not doing it, what does that say about you?
Yes.
Well, don't need to be like. I said, I'm not being judgmental. I'm merely trying to enlighten and empower you to accept the knowledge that you have been given by two people independent of each other to help you heal your body.
Yes.
But
and that's, go on.
You know, and you know, I walk away from people like that shaking my head.
Yeah.
Shaking my head.
I mean, it's a shame. I mean, we're all like, I mean, I was like it for a long time. You know, we relied on the system, but although we were connected to the source and we're asking for healing, it's like we're asking for healing, but we don't truly trust it or believe it. That's why we go elsewhere as well. But we don't need to when we understand everything starts on an energy level.
Yeah.
And you have to heal everything from an energy level first.
That's why you're ill, because the people that are making you ill, pharmaceuticals, society in general, you know, all aspects of society that control you, they know about what you're saying.
Yeah.
And they're using the energy of pills and chemtrails, God knows what else, to make us ill, to keep us in perpetual servitude and running back to the doctors. If we just addressed our body, you know, and it's getting really late in the day now because your air's poisoned and polluted, your water's poisoned and polluted, and your food is poisoned and polluted.
Well, we don't even know what we're eating half the time, even if it is what it says on the label, because it's GMO.
Even if you buy an apple, you know, it's genetically modified.
Yes.
You know, to change its original energy level. They know what they're doing, and they're controlling us, these Archons and their agents, in every way, shape or form. And it saddens me that people that say that they're mediums and whatever are not talking about this more.
Yes.
And, you know, like me and you are doing now. And the reason they're not talking about it more is either because they don't know, or if they do know, they prefer to work on a lower astral level where money, the energy of money, comes to them in abundance. There ain't no pockets in shrouds.
Are you there, Grail?
I'm here.
Oh, it's all right. The TV cut out for a split second and the audio obviously went off for me. the computer would have picked up what you've said, but I missed what you said for about 15 seconds.
Well, I'm saying that it saddens me that more of those that have the ability to communicate beyond the third dimension are
Yes.
not doing so in a way that they use their gift to empower and enlighten another into who they are,
Yes.
and whatever. Most of them either don't know, they don't want to know, because they're happy working on those lower astral levels where money will come to them in abundance. And I'm
Yes.
saying, you know, I know there ain't no pockets in shrouds. What
Yeah.
I'm going to take with me when I leave here, what my soul and my spirit, independently and collectively, are going to take with them when they leave here, is the awareness that I have developed during this incarnation. And if that awareness helps my soul to transcend the reincarnation cycle, I know the way out anyway. A Native American taught me this, and I will do that if I have to. But I'd much rather do it because I have developed my soul and my soul's awareness to such a level I can automatically transcend the reincarnation track.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Okay,
Anyway,
well, go on.
I was going to say, we've been talking for best part of an hour now. It'll probably be wise to end here, I think, because
Yeah,
it'd be too much for.
we've got about an hour and a half recording.
Well, I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Spence.
At that point, I stopped recording the Skype conversation with Barry. So this is where we will end the video. We hope you enjoyed the information that was brought through by Barry and his personal experiences and his understanding about the spirit world. So we are going to make more videos, and I'm going to start bringing in other people to share their information and understanding about spirit, to give you, the listeners, more understanding for developing yourself. So thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. God bless.